right, so as I kick off this series about love, I wanted to first and foremost highlight the love of God, and I can say for myself, this is part testimony, this is part Bible, this is part of showing and showcasing God's love. And so, as a person who has always, I grew up in the midst of just insanity and chaos and just anxiety and just fear, just constantly never knowing when or what was going to happen, what was going to jump off, and people who, it wasn't always like that, but it was just a broken home. And growing up, the first 10 to 12 years of just neither parent and being raised by my grandmother or being raised by the state, I can say that I've always felt a special relationship and bond with God first and foremost. And I'm so grateful and have a huge sense of gratitude that my grandmother made sure that we knew who God was. And so when I look at the love of God and how much God loved us, that He sent His Son who had no flaws, no faults. And so He sent His Son that we all may have a chance and opportunity to life. But the important thing about that also is that a life more abundantly. And so when we look at that word, is that we have joy, we have peace, we have abundance, we have prosperity, we have all those things that includes. And so when I look at what society tells me, oh, that God can love me because whatever box that society wants to put me in, that God doesn't love us because we're gay, or God doesn't love us because we look a certain way or we act a certain way, or those are all lies and deceptions of the enemy. And so when I look at that, many times throughout my life, or just when I was trapped in the whole vicious cycle of addiction, when I was trapped in the whole vicious cycle of just allowing anger to rule and conquer my life, when I was wrapped up in a cycle of just not believing, God's love was always present and God's hand of protection was always over me. And so I say for you too that God loves us more than what words can even explain. And so the Bible tells us that even when this world crumbles, the thing that will remain is God's love. And so even when there's language barriers, even when there's age differences, even when there's whatever the circumstances may present, that God loves us more and adores us to the point to where He spared His Son. And so when I look at, I had to go back and I had to really look at who God was, the creator of all the heavens and the earth, the creator of the oceans, of the trees, of the sun, of the moon, of galaxies. And so on that grand level, and then so the word tells us that we are made in that very same image. And so when I say that, and when I have been visited, and when I have just felt the hand of God upon my life and the calling upon my life, and so I've been obedient with starting this ministry, that more than ever that the world needs to know that God is a true and living God, and so He loves us. And so the enemy attempt to convince us that God doesn't love us because of whatever that may be, but have the understanding and know that God loves all of His children, and God loves all of us. And so as I look back on how the doors has been opening and doors has been closed, and His protection. And so the one thing that was one of the things that was commanded, and is even in the Ten Commandments, is to love thy neighbor as thyself. And so God loves us, and so as He freely loves us, and love is what connects all of us. Again, love is what connects all of us because He is love, and the Word is love. And out of love, there's so much that's attached to it. Out of love is attached to life. Out of love is attached to abundance. Out of love is attached to prosperity. Out of love is attached to that second chance. Out of love is attached to that protection. And so to translate that into a world that is so full of hate more than any other time and period in the world, where although the Bible tells us is that there's nothing new up under the sun. And so I tell you, and I challenge you to draw close to Him, and He will draw closer to you. and my own personal story of just overcoming depression, overcoming addiction, overcoming all of these challenges, and just knowing firsthand that God loves all of us, and nothing separates us from Him. Nothing separates from the source that God lit, and it resides deep within us. And so, as a person who attempted to find all of these things and all of these outside sources, people, places, and things, that I come to understand and to come to know firsthand that it resides within us, because within us, our spirit man, the one that connects us all, at the root of all of it, was the Most High. And so, as I come to understand, and I came to have that awareness of exactly who God was, more than ever, that He desired to have the best for each and every one of us. That everything that we wanted, everything that we desired, everything that we needed, He's the supplier of all of our needs. He's a comforter. He's a friend. He's a father. He's a protector. And so, as I look at that, and as we look at those things, and as I gain the understanding and the awareness that He loves all of His children, is inclusive. It's man, and sometimes religion create these barriers, these boxes to place people in. But God loves all of His children. And soon the world will see, soon the world will know, as He can take David with all of his flaws, and not only transform him into a mighty king with one of the longest running empires, that He had flaws, of how He used Moses to lead His trusted, His beloved people. And yet Moses, same one who killed that man in that desert and attempted to hide him, was raised in the Pharaoh's house, could have very easily lived a life of luxury, the finest, and yet that's who He chose to use. And it goes on and on with stories and characters of people who He chose to use. So He had used whomever. And so now, as it's been updated, and now that we live in these times, that God will use whomever to rise up, to be a king among kings, because the world will bear witness to the fact that, like the word says, everlasting. And so if you're watching this video, and for whatever reason you feel, or you calling into question, or you doubt if God loves you more than you ever know. And even to the point to where He knows exactly how much hair we have on our head, as the word tells us. And know us even before we was in the womb. And so stop judging yourself. You can't judge yourself based upon somebody else's opinion, or someone else's fears, or somebody else's paradigm, or somebody else's disbelief or limiting beliefs. I challenge you to get to know God for yourself, and you won't be disappointed. And so I know, for me, in my house, which is my temple, and especially in these last couple of years, all of the changes that I've gone through, I know that there's greater. That has already begun, because He transforms the man's mind and speaks to the heart of man. And so that's why I know that it is love that connects all of us. And so I, kicking off 2021, sit before you proclaiming the love of God to all of his children, gay, straight, black, white, big, little, rich, poor, that his son was sent for us, those who society looked upon, those who lacked, those who were harmed, those who was abused, those who were neglected, those who were overlooked, those who were beaten down, those who was abandoned, those who, yeah, and to give us life. And so as my life is about to be elevated to a whole nother level, and I claim that, and I know that, and I speak that into existence this very moment, um, that I receive all that the Most High has for me, but it's out of love. And so, kicking off this series of love, first and foremost, know that you are loved, know that you are blessed, and so know that God's love is inclusive and not exclusive, and that God loves us more than we'll ever be able to comprehend, because the Word tells us that your thoughts are not our thoughts, your words are not our words, and know that God loves us all. He loves all of his children. And do not allow the world to pull you away from that love. And that's part one of my love series.